Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Punky Brewster. And this is a Peacock rebirth of the original Punky Brewster show, and now Punky is an adult, and she's a mom, and has her own little family. And I had never seen the original series Punky Brewster, so I didn't know much about it. I feel like this show definitely lays the groundwork of building off of a lot from the original show. They live in the same place. They still have this crazy treehouse out back. They definitely bring back a whole bunch of characters, and you can tell like the canned studio audience is like, yay, when like they reference something, because you're like, as somebody who hasn't watched it, I'm like, okay, now I know something is happening from the original show. And they do a bunch of that, and you could expect that in this kind of nostalgia rebirth of a show, that they're definitely going to make a bunch of references. And obviously, they didn't really mean much to me, but I had a lot of fun with this show. And it's 10 episodes, it's a quick watch, they're all like 24 to 30 minutes long, and I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really endearing. And you have this cast of characters, and Soleil Moon Fry is great. She has a lot of energy. She's wonderful. She's a great leading character in this sitcom, and she's a lot of fun, and she's endearing, and she definitely delivers some emotional moments. She's very spunky. She's very punky, and like, of course, it's like she's very believable as this quirky little girl grown up into a quirky adult. And like, she has her ex-husband who just is around all the time, and maybe they shouldn't have broken up in the first place, and it's Freddie Prinze Jr. and he's a lot of fun, and he's silly, and they have some great chemistry, honestly. And even when Punky's off doing some dates, she goes on a date with a surprising cameo in the show that I was not expecting, and that date was interesting. It was a lot of fun. It definitely leans into a lot of tropes of sitcoms. There isn't a whole lot of new kinds of stories that it delves into. They delve into, like, obviously the big focus here is like she has her kids as well. She has her teenage daughter who's basically the one helping raise the other kids, because she's really much the adult, played by Lauren Lindsay Donzis. And you have their two adopted sons, Daniel and Diego, and Daniel is maybe gender fluid, and that adds some layers to the show, and that's unexpected. And then you have her best friend Cherry from the original show, who's grown up. She's a lesbian and deals with a lot of those kinds of issues, but she has a really endearing relationship with her girlfriend that leads to some really wonderful places in this first season. But the big thing is you have Izzy, played by Quinn Copeland, who's a spunky little girl too, who is living in foster care, and the first episode is them falling in love with this little girl and wanting her to stay. And you have those moments, you deal with those tropes, and you have this mix of family, very interesting group of people, all having some tension, having some conflict, but always coming back because they all love each other. And I think that's endearing. I think that's important. Yeah, the show can get a little cheesy. It could get a little on the nose with its messaging. The whole entire episode dealing with gender fluidity, they definitely have some very like on the nose kinds of conversations about it, but at least a sitcom like this is taking on those kinds of ideas and trying to honor them, and I think that's admirable about the show, and being a little more modern. They do have the fun stuff like an 80s block party, and I have to say, probably the big, as a pro wrestling fan, I should have enjoyed this, but it felt so forced, because Peacock is now going to be the home of WWE Network, so they had a whole entire episode about WWE, and Izzy loves wrestling and says WWE superstar 7 times or so within the first 30 seconds of the episode, and she gets to meet Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, and that's interesting enough, but what it brings about is like she gets to find herself, and it's just a really cheesy, silly, but when it does get more serious and you deal with the love, the relationships, the complexity between Punky and her ex-husband, I really like those things. And you have Punky maybe reconnecting with her mother, who contacts her after all these years, and that can be emotional. This has those moments where I felt it. It also is a little cheesy and a little on the nose and really deals with a lot of tropes and cliches, but you know what? The cast is great, the characters are fun, and Punky Brewster is a little delightful show. Go check it out on Peacock. But those are my thoughts on Punky Brewster. Let me know what you think and let's talk some TV. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.